Good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are, or maybe even evening or middle of the night for some of you. Welcome to our weekly daily chat that we do with Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vasel. I hope you are having a good week. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm just here to answer questions and just talk back and forth with you all. If you ask questions, there's a good chance they will be answered, but there's also a good chance they won't be, and I apologize for that in advance. But you never know. I'll answer some of the questions here that I get in the comments. I got a lot of new games played this weekend, some with the guys, some with my kids. I spent a lot of solo gaming this weekend for sure. In fact, I played one game this weekend almost more than all the other games put together, and that would be Etherfields. And I'm still not ready to review it. Normally, I can get a grasp on a game pretty quickly. I'm pretty sure I know where my final thoughts on Etherfields are going to be, but I'd like to play it some more. Probably played it a total of 7 to 8 hours at this point, but I want to play some more. So I guess you can surmise from that the game is not crushingly bad, because I would not play a game crushingly bad that long. So don't be looking at my salad. I'm going to push it off screen. It is a lettuce mango salad. It's delicious. Actually, what was it called? No, it doesn't say here. But it was a mango lettuce salad or whatever. So, let's see what kind of... let's see what I got. Top 10 sales pitches where you try to convince each other to play games you have previously been unwilling to try, but you convince your co-host should like. No, I don't... Okay, I shouldn't say no, but I doubt we'll ever do this, because I don't ever try to convince. So let's say use Z for example. If Z says he doesn't want to play a game, I don't try to persuade him to play it. I just don't see what the point of that is. If I think he would like it, then I would tell him, and if he thinks he'd like it, or might like it, he'll try it. But I know Z well enough that I'm not going to try to sell him on a game that he wouldn't like or doesn't think he'll like. I just don't know what the point of that is. Are you having convention draw, or has it been nice to not travel so much this summer? Yes, is the answer to that question. On one hand, I've been spending tons more time with my family. I've enjoyed the less stress of not traveling, but oh my goodness, I do miss conventions. I love conventions, and so I would certainly like to be at them. Do I think King's Dilemma would work with 3 people? Yes, but I think it would work better with 4 and even better with 5, and even I think it goes to 6. More is better. It would work with 3, but not as good. When do you start planning the yearly Kickstarter? March, but in all seriousness, like when I'm seriously planning it, now. It's annoying seeing the Title Blades box behind Tom, and the same company had Valor and Villainy Minions of Mordok as a campaign first, and it's 2 years now and hasn't arrived. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. I'm assuming Title Blades was just more popular, and that one's going to get to people first. So, yeah, it's behind. I'm going to be reviewing this. If it bothers you that much, though. But I don't care. I just had it there because I'm going to be reviewing it soon, that's all. Hopefully that makes you feel a little better. Please tell me your Tiny Towns Villagers review is coming soon. Tomorrow, actually. Tom, I sent you some recommendations of comics to read on Hoopla the other day. Have you got a chance to read any of them? It had things like Fables and Green Lantern and Manhattan Projects. I don't know how you sent that to me. So here's what I've read on Hoopla so far. I'm going to pull up Hoopla here, and I'll tell you what I've read, and I'll tell you what I think of it. As I said before, I read some of the Batman stuff, and I'm getting a little darkened out by Batman. So here's what else I read. So Batman. I read the series Black Hammer, which I think you may have recommended to me, and I really like that. I read the whole thing. I did not like, there's some Black Hammer Justice League crossover. That I did not care for. But I really liked Black Hammer. I read Archie vs. Predator. I don't know why. East of West I read, but it's a little too... Everyone in the story is uber powerful, and I don't know that I find that as interesting. I found a series called Once and Future that I really enjoyed, about King Arthur, but if he's bad. And I thought I downloaded a DC comic primer, the Neil Gaiman Library Volume 1, and then a bunch of Batman, Superman stuff. So, yeah, you can send me more things. I don't know if I got this last one about Fables. Have I taught the puppy any new tricks? Right now, I like to teach the puppy to use the bathroom outside. For some reason, she's having a relapse at night anyhow. Although she woke me up at 2 this morning. She's really good at waking me up. One night, she just licked my foot. That's a unusual sensation to wake up to. Last night, she just jumped on me. Also woke me up. She really... she likes me better than anyone in the house by a mile. And I feel almost bad for my kids in that regard. I'm not even home that often. But 100%, if I'm home, she is going to follow me and sit and be near me no matter where I am. With some exceptions occasionally, but wow. Anyway, she woke me up to go outside, and I was not pleased at waking up at 2 in the morning, but I took her outside, and then I brought her back in, and yet that still did not work. Happily, she doesn't do anything in my room. It's all in my daughter's room, so I'm not too upset, I guess, but my wife is less pleased. As for tricks, I'm teaching her to stay, which is a big deal. I am having the pain in the neck. She loves to chase balls, so I throw the ball, she runs and grabs it, but then she wants me to chase her to get it back. And so teaching her to bring that ball back to me is a real pain in the neck. Does Unicorn Fever have the best minis ever? It does not. Do you wind up having extras of your Kickstarter bundles and or sell them at cons? Occasionally, and yes. Selling at cons. What mechanic in Overpower would you say needs to be brought into a modern trading card game? The venturing. That's such a unique thing that I still haven't seen anywhere else. I really, really like it, and I've never seen any game do it. Which Dice Tower Werewolf game has been the most memorable to you? Well, maybe the first one, because that's the one that really got me into doing it. Of ones that just had really interesting things happen in them, there's so many good moments. I could make a top 10 list of moments, but I'll tell you, the one that's going up tomorrow was a really cool game. So keep an eye out for that one. I believe it's called First Law. What was the best thing you ate this weekend? My wife and I had some coal-fried pizza, coal-baked pizza, whatever. They put it in a coal oven, charcoal-baked pizza. And we were debating on the two different types, so we just got half and half. The half I chose was the better half, in my opinion. She liked the other half better, so it worked out. But I got pineapple, coconut, bacon. And I didn't know, I'm not a huge coconut fan, but cooked coconut on a pizza, yeah, that was good. Now I know I'm just divided half the audience, because half the people here do not like Hawaiian pizza. Half the people in the world seem to not like Hawaiian pizza, but that's fine. You can not like what you don't like, and that just leaves more of it for me, but I do like it. What's the most ridiculous choice in a Dice Tower top 10? You can limit it to you, Sam, and Z. I personally think your choice of Caverna and top 10 casual two-player game takes the cake. Yeah, that's probably a legit choice. However, I would say that's trumped by Sam's choice of Time Stories on top 10 games of the Pace It On theme. I think Sam wins with that one. I don't even think there's a close second. Although the Caverna one is probably a good choice. When should we expect a review of Etherfield? Well, it's not going to be this week. I might play Etherfields tonight. That's how much I'm yes. I want to play it some more, and there's no way I'm going to play the whole campaign before I do the review. It's just not enough time, and it's a huge campaign. I've calculated it out. I guess, could be wrong. I guess it would take a minimum, and this is playing solo. So far I played the tutorial with the other guys, Mike and Roy and Z. But then playing through continue through the campaign, I'm playing solo. But I think playing solo, there's 40 plus hours left, maybe 50 or 60. Depends how fast I would play through it. Hello from Finland, 7th Citadel. We'll be talking about that soon in an upcoming crowd surfing, probably. Tom, your hat bothers me. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I wearing it off? Okay. Do you think the industry as a whole has weathered the COVID storm better or worse than you initially thought? Well, I didn't have any initial thoughts on it necessarily because I didn't know how long it would last or what. The board gaming is going to survive it for sure. I mean, because people play board games when stuck at home, and board gaming online presence was strong enough already. This has made it stronger. Local stores, it's a tough gig for. Some local stores are doing okay. Some are really hurting right now, and it all depends on how long this is going to be in effect for. But I have no idea. Tom, I watched some of your older videos, and you were not as dressed up like you were now. Do you want to become more presentable as Dice Tower became more popular, or another reason? I don't have a good answer for that. If you watched the oldest ones, I believe I wore a tie in a lot of them, and then I kind of faded away from wearing the tie. I was wearing the collared shirts. I was trying to make a Dice Tower uniform with collared shirts and stuff. But I don't know, I started wearing ties and vests and things, and I just started, I don't know, I like that style. I dress like that most of the time anyway, even not as much. COVID has kind of cramped my dressing styles. I used to dress like this on a Saturday too, but now on Saturdays I tend wearing t-shirt and shorts. But I dress like this every day except Saturdays, so I would do it even if I'm not recording. I will often wear a tie to work. I don't know, I just do. Did you figure out a storage solution for those Carcassonne maps? We have not. I think we're just going to roll them up, put them in a thing. If I could get Hans und Gluck to allow me to print those on Hans und Gluck, Cosmos, sorry. If I could get, is it Cosmos? No, it's Hans und Gluck. If I could get them to allow me to print those on neoprene, I would do that, or at least I'd print one of them. Cool Stuff Inc. doesn't have Blood Rage in stock anywhere, and it's too expensive right now on Amazon. Sure, it's out of print, essentially. I don't know if they'll print more of it or not. Love the new werewolf introduction with the howling. Who made it? That would be Mike. Tom, when will you do the second run through of the Root app? Well, I'd hope to do it earlier, but it's going to be Wednesday. This Wednesday, we're doing Root again. So, there you go. I just read a ton of Dr. Aphra, and it was crazy and good. It's okay. There's only so much I can read of morally bankrupt heroes. I know people like that, but I tend to like my heroes to be a little bit more white hat. They don't have to be completely white hat, but I like the heroes to, I don't mind the chaotic good, I guess. But Dr. Aphra is more like chaotic neutral, and that's okay, I guess, but Are you going to play TI4 with the new expansion? It's possible. It's possible. Do you grill with propane or charcoal? I grill with charcoal. I just like charcoal. I like the concept of it. I like the taste of it. I know that propane is easier and better and definitely it's got to be less hassle than charcoal. But I do like cooking with charcoal. I haven't thought about getting a doggy door. No, that's not a bad idea. I don't know, though. I don't know if I want other animals coming in through it. What's the method? 1 new dog per 2 kids shipped off to college? I did. So when we got the dog, it took a long, hard campaign to persuade my wife to let us get the dog. So then I mentioned, hey, maybe 2 dogs, and I'm not going to mention it again. Do some research on crate training, keeping the puppy in the crate overnight, or when not home with the puppy, that will make potty training much easier. Well, we did do that, and then she cried for hours straight. And sure, her cries are extremely loud. I was less than thrilled with that. I have not played Among Us. Everyone keeps asking that. I'll just clear that up now. I've not played it. I might get to it at some point. Cuban sandwich versus hoagie? Hoagie by a mile. Cuban sandwiches are fine, but hoagies, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so there you go. Have I watched Action Park on HBO? Yeah, I did, actually. My thoughts on it? Well, I thought there was, I know that you can call me a prude all you want, but I thought it was gratuitously swear-wordy. I mean, I would like to watch it with my kids to show them the kind of parks and stuff. I mean, it's an interesting thing, right? Because some of that stuff I remember. I never went to Action Park, but I grew up actually pretty close. And some of those rides and things there were at parks when I was a kid. So I'd love to show it to my kids, but the people they interviewed for it were just cussing up a storm. And I don't know. I just didn't feel that was necessary for what they were trying to tell in this story. But it was an interesting movie other than that. It felt nostalgic, I think, more than anything else. Can you name an active player in the Tampa Bay Rays? I cannot. Additionally, can you name half the teams in the Major League playoffs right now? I cannot. Even though I'm a big baseball fan, there's a difference between enjoying baseball and enjoying the Major League Baseball. I don't keep track of that. I've been a Blue Jays fan, but I'm like a fan where I look from a distance and go, yay, go do a good job. I just haven't. A lot of it's steroids. The steroids just really wreaked havoc on my enjoyment of baseball, Major League Baseball as a whole. I still like the sport of baseball. I find it interesting. I just haven't watched it for a while. And I was about to say, man, I didn't even know the playoffs were going on in it. But yes, it's October, so for sure. With Root and Size showing up recently, is it already time for a follow-up to top 10 board game apps? No, but I suspect you will see me do a top apps of the year. Starting in 2020, I will be doing my top 10 apps of that year, I think. Doesn't pineapple require ham also? Well, obviously not when there's bacon. Have you played Marvel Splendor? We have, and the review will be going up this week. How do you choose who to review a game? Well, we don't necessarily choose the reviewers. They come in and Z says, I want to review that. I say, I want to review this. Sometimes we'll play a game to review together. We will be doing a joint review probably of Unicorn Fever. The Marvel Splendor review will be a joint review. So I think there's something else. No, that's not going to get a joint review. But, we'll be doing different joint reviews as time goes by. Sometimes I bundle up games into boxes and send them to some of our reviewers, like Liz or Brian or Graham. And then they review it. But that's not necessarily me choosing it per se. Just I send them stuff. What is your opinion of shut up and sit down? Friends or competition? Well, we don't know each other necessarily well enough to be considered friends, although that could change for sure. They're also definitely competition, but I look at everyone as competition, even if I am friends with them. Like, for example, I'm really good friends with Board Game Geek, but I still look at their channel as competition. Now, you can be friendly and have competition. Okay, it doesn't mean that you wish any ill on them. You just want to do better if you possibly can, per se. It's not a big deal. However, well, shut up and sit down. Just stay tuned on that regard. Have you tried the updated Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy? No! It's been sitting on the shelf, and we want to get to it soon. Do you know if there are fan-made rules for downforce with Mario Kart characters? I do not know that. I don't think it needs them. I just like using them as just because they're there. How is the salt gun action playing? Woo! It is low, but that is because it is low fly season. And so fewer flies, less salt gun action, which is fine by me. It's there for when I need it. Are you allowed to use assault guns and slugs? Probably. Tom, do you enjoy hosting werewolf games more than playing them? By tenfold. I don't know. I can't even remember the last time I played in a werewolf game. I want to say it was at Total Con. That sounds right. Almost 10 years probably since I played in a werewolf game. I just really like moderating them. I like watching and seeing everything that goes on and shepherding everyone a little bit in different directions. I wouldn't say I'm a good moderator. Very few people are going to call me a good moderator. In fact, I might be a mean moderator, I guess, as I get to keep things on track here. There's many, many moderators who are likely better than I am. I just like making up interesting ideas and combinations to make it as fun for players as possible. That doesn't mean you're a good moderator, though. But I still like doing it. Have you been in a Tesla? No. I've seen one, but I haven't been in one. What's my favorite Hearthstone card? Oh, that's a good question. What is my favorite Hearthstone card? I like the one that adds to every card, like adds strength to all your beasts in the deck, whether they're in the deck or not. I like that one. You know, I almost want to say the one that just gives me an extra crystal. As dumb as that is, I like being ahead of my opponent by an extra crystal, and I like being able to play big stuff fast. So the basic things, those druid cards, they give me the extra one. Well, maybe I'll do my top 10 Hearthstone cards at some point. Maybe. Do you check your daughter's college grades online? No, not particularly. They tell me what they get. So, I mean, I guess I could check them online. I don't want that hanging over their heads. I don't know if they're watching this, but I want them to get through college. I want them to do well, but I'm not going to get on their case on their grades. I want them to have a great college experience, and I want them to have a productive, successful life. I don't care too strongly. I'm not worried about them partying and all that stuff. So just do your best. Did you see Rodney being criticized for expressing his opinion on a board game? Dune Imperium? Haha, ridiculous. Well, sure, it's ridiculous, but that was one person. I feel like if there's one thing that kind of bugs me sometimes. And first of all, so let me let me clarify. Rodney likes the game a lot. I heard him mention on the podcast. I plan to look at this game whenever I get a hold of it. And because Rodney liked it that much, it means I'm interested in it. I don't think anything Rodney had to do about being paid for has anything to do with his opinion on the game. And I think it's crazy that people would think such a thing. I don't think it's crazy, but especially since he went out of his way to point that out. So that was just someone being a troll. I do worry sometimes, though, that sometimes we'll take a troll, what a troll does, and then we will get outraged over that, and then outrage becomes something bigger. So an example of this, and I'm going to veer off slightly into stuff that's not board gaming here, but every year Starbucks does some cup for Christmas, right? So a couple years ago, they had a cup that I guess didn't have Merry Christmas on it or whatever. And when I went to Facebook, I saw page after page after page about people being outraged about people who were upset that the cup didn't say Merry Christmas on it. Here's the thing, though. I didn't see anybody who was actually upset that the cup didn't have Merry Christmas on it. I just saw people being outraged by someone who may have been and that just seems silly to me to have this outrage. And that's when I was like, yeah, that is a stupid thing to be upset about. Sure, but who's upset about it? Maybe one person said it somewhere. Is that worth the waves of revenge indignation? I don't get it. But there's apparently that sort of thing is all in social media. I'll tell you what, folks, I am probably this week going to delete Twitter from my phone. I haven't been on it hardly at all anyway, and my life has improved considerably. And Facebook, I am pretty much just sticking in the groups that I'm part of, like Dice Tower Group, Dice Tower Werewolf, things like that. And my life is enjoy there. Instagram is amazing, though. Instagram, I like Instagram. So let's say, for example, here, I will I'll Instagram me being live right now, right? Ooh. This is super meta. And then I'll write live right now on my Instagram. So I just Instagram that, share it. Instagram is so positive. Maybe there's negative stuff on Instagram, but I don't see it at all. I post pictures. People say positive things or there's discussion. I am only subscribed to like 7 or 8 people on Instagram. I probably should be subscribed to more of them. But it's all pictures of people, mostly board games, taking pictures of board games and people going, oh, that looks interesting. Or, I mean, maybe the worst thing is, I don't really like that game, but wow. Maybe Instagram, maybe there's a seedy underbelly of Instagram I don't see. But it is way better than Twitter and Facebook. I like that one. I'm not as cool with the kids as Snapchat. So my daughter, Amy, she posted on Snapchat. Let me move this real quick here so that people aren't confused about the question. My daughter posted on Snapchat something like, I'm a vegan now, blah, 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 because of cruelty to animals. And someone texted me and said, you know your daughter's a vegan now. Now, just to be clear, I don't care if she's a vegan or not. But I was pretty sure she was not a vegan. And I thought, well, seems like that would be an odd thing for her to suddenly switch over because I know of her enjoyment of meat. But hey, if she's a vegan, so be it. So I called her, and then she was all like, how could you see my Snapchat? Like, well, I don't know. I went to one of my other kids and said, let me see your Snapchat. I don't have it on my phone. And they showed it to me, and she said, that was clearly a joke. I'm not vegan. I was like, look. And I was very serious. If you're vegan, I'm very supportive. I will do what I can. And she went on and on about it was a joke. And I went on and on about how I was very serious. You come out of the meat closet, I'm there for you. So then bought a big box of vegan beef jerky. I guess not beef, that's a vegan jerky, and sent it to her through Amazon. I said, hey, you're getting a package. Take a video of it when you get it and send it to me. So she did, took a video of opening the box, and she was excited to see it was jerky, and then threw it when she saw it was vegan jerky. And I'm trolling my daughter still in college, and I'm proud of it. I don't know how that went from the Rodney question to that. I'm trying to get more to the board game community. I'm a professional videographer. I think I know what people need, but in your opinion, what's a videographer useful for? Well, you can help a lot of people like me. I'm not very good at videoing, right? So people like me and other people out there definitely could use help on that. There's certain presentation skills that people can have or not have. You can argue that Tom Vasel does not have good presentation skills, but there's a lot of people who just aren't very good at presenting things. But there are people who are really good at it, and some of those people aren't very good at video. I'm not going to say I'm good at presenting, but I'm not good at video for sure. And so you can help people like that. Alrighty. Well, that's a... Tom, will you Dice Tower be present on Spiel Online or just as visitors? We're going to have this stuff on our own channel. That week, we're going to be doing a bunch of playthroughs of the various games for Spiel, but it will be on the Dice Tower channel. What part of Pennsylvania am I from? Allentown, Pennsylvania. East Pennsylvania, not very far from Philadelphia. Tom, I remember you enjoyed the Transformers CCG. Have you seen the new fan project yet? No, and I probably won't. I know that fans do a good job at keeping many collectible card games alive. Star Wars, it happened for a very long time. In fact, it may be going on still. Overpower for sure has that going on. I'm sure there are other ones out there. I'm sure the Transformers one's fine. I'm just so busy doing other things unless I love the game, which I do for Overpower. So I keep an eye on the fan stuff for that. I don't really care about the fan stuff for other ones just because I'm not playing it all the time. But I'm sure it's fine and good. How about if I give a werewolf team a werewolf hunter? Well, who says I haven't? We ever shows videos on tips on how to take care of your board games? Like how do you arrange them in a box or organize them in your room? Maybe, but I mean, it's mostly me just putting them in to just making them as neat as I possibly can in the box. Mostly, you know, putting the cards together, putting the components in nice plastic containers. How would you feel about changing out meeples in games for special meeples? I have enough metal meeples to exchange the meeples in Vikings. Yeah, sure. I'd gladly do that. I usually don't have enough to replace a game, but if I do, if you have those metal meeples and you replace them in a game, why not? That's really cool. Are you a Miami Marlins fans? I mean, ish. I root for them unless they're playing the Blue Jays. I guess they're here in the area. I've been to a few Marlins games. Am I Canadian? No, I just, as a kid, for some reason, I picked the Blue Jays. I don't have a good reason. It was maybe late 80s. I said, the Blue Jays. Blue Jays were my favorite team. Tigers were my second favorite team. No reason. Me and my brother, we were always going on about baseball. He liked the Twins. I liked the Blue Jays, which was very, when they played each other, that was a good old-fashioned thing. But fortunately for me, the Blue Jays winning back-to-back World Series, one of them against the local team, Phillies, certainly was enjoyable. Baseball is overrated. Anything is overrated if you don't like it, but other people do, right? So if you're doing something and I don't like it, I'll be like, overrated. I'm sure Roy would never play Eclipse with you. Again, we have it on the docket somewhere. It was actually supposed to happen a few weeks ago, and then it just didn't. We'll get there. Have you tried? Do you want to get on a game night playthrough? Well, I was invited by Lincoln. He said, if you're ever coming out to California, let me know. But when's the last time I've been to California or anyone, traveling at all? So, yeah, no, me and Lincoln, I really like Lincoln. He's a great guy, and I would gladly be on a game night if I was invited, which he did kind of sort of in the right, I say, hey, if you're ever out, let me know. But, just isn't going to happen anytime soon. I recently received and played Red Outpost. Is there a plan to review it? Maybe, but maybe I should play it first. It is sitting right there on the floor. It was on our Saturday pile, but didn't make it to the table. It was beat out by another Russian game, or another game based in Russia, the Red Cathedral. Have you ever played Werewolf with two full evil teams such as wolves or vampires? Well, no, but again, I don't know that they're evil, right? Because if you say that wolves and vampires are evil, how's that any different than villagers and wolves? If you think about it, villagers are pretty evil. They kill someone every day because they might be a werewolf. Terrible. Are you still addicted to Slay the Spire? Oh, I've calmed down on it, actually. I'm sure I would get addicted to it if I played it. I just haven't played it. I kind of switch around on my apps that I play. I've been busy doing other stuff. Like I said, this weekend played a lot of Etherfields instead. Jason, though, on the other hand, has been addicted to it and has been playing it quite a bit. Did I play Finished yet? I have not. What food do you miss most from convention season we missed this year? For me, it was Melt's mac and cheese and fried chicken sandwich. Oh, my word. So I didn't go to Origins last year. So that's 2 years now I've missed Origins. I do like the fried chicken, though. That's at the place across from Origins a lot. St. Elmo's shrimp, whether you get them at St. Elmo's or Harry and Izzy's, that cocktail sauce. I miss that. I miss anything from the UK. I miss the Nando's. I love Nando's. The UK food, I miss that. I miss, from Germany, I miss the donors. Those are such good sandwiches. And what else did we not go to this year? Oh, I just like eating in Orlando. Happily, I was able to go to Orlando anyway. So maybe that's not the one thing I miss the most. Just picked up the meter from the post office. Package box was really damaged. Luckily enough, not the game box. Does it unnerve you a bit when packages are damaged? Usually not really. I wait to see if the game's damaged. If the package is all beat up, I'm like, well, let's see. But I mean, if the game was damaged, I just then contact the company. So I don't know that I worry too much about it. The only time I worry about it is, so we have some new covers here for the back of our computers that Roy ordered. And that comes in an envelope, and that was bent when it came in. Fortunately, they're just stickers, so they're fine. Yeah. Did you see that there's a podcast out there now entirely about Spirit Island? No, but that's cool if people really like Spirit Island. I feel like that would be a tough sell for me to be interested. Like if you made a podcast about Cosmic Encounter, one of my favorite games, I don't think I would. I think I would listen to the intro. But I don't want to listen to it every week about, okay, today we're going to talk about the Macrons. And while they're slightly underpowered, even though they initially look powerful, but they're only newbies are going to be fooled by them and blah, 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 blah. Like, oh, my word. No. Will there be a top 5 dino games? I think so. I might, I don't know when I'll do that one, but there's enough dinosaur games out there now. I'm going to do a top 5 monster games too, a top 10 monster games. Have you watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix? I watched bits and pieces of it, but it's not telling me stuff that I necessarily didn't already think was true. Have you tried Beyond Meat? No. No, I figure that if I was someone who was going to go vegetarian or vegan, I would definitely try all this stuff. But since I'm not, I figured I'll just keep eating the meat. What do you think about all these companies making their own crowdfunding services in light of HeroQuest and Awaken Realms? Well, the folks from Awaken Realms, they have a post-crowd funding service. They're not making, they're doing something that's, similar to BackerKit. So that's different. Hasbro doing their own thing. I mean, I figured they just don't want to pay the 10%, well, 5% to Kickstarter. Seems legit to me, I guess. I don't think it's the worst mistake they've ever made. I watched one video, Persona, talk about how this was the biggest mistake Hasbro's ever made and how it was an abject failure. And I would argue, let's take a look here and see what it's at right now. It's on Hasbro Pulse is their name. It's at 1.8 million. Their target was 1 million. There's 32 days to go. So figure it might make 3 million. Yeah, I guess that's a failure. That's the kind of failure I could live with. I don't care that companies do it. Hasbro's big enough to pull it off. But most other companies, if you do your own crowd surfing site, I may not back it. In fact, I haven't backed HeroQuest yet. I might, but I'm not convinced yet. Great lesson further, though. Need to be mindful what's posted. Even if you clearly intend it to be a joke, you need to consider how it might be misinterpreted. Yes, there was some method to my trolling. Don't get me wrong, I troll a lot for my kids. But yes, I did point out that just because you say it's a joke and you said all your friends know it's a joke, and just because you think only your friends can see it, doesn't mean it won't get out there. And it did get back to good old Dad, who she did not expect it to. And again, there are way worse things she could be posting online. And again, I don't even care if she was a vegan. I told her I'm all for it because when we go to a restaurant, that's more meat for me. And I was very serious about it for a while. Have you had a chance to play Marvel Crisis Protocol? I've had a chance and I've rejected that chance. I just wanted to play something else instead. It wasn't like I was like, no! But there's a gentleman in our game group, well, when our game group met months ago, who painted everything. He bought 2 of everything, painted up everything, built custom terrain, plays it. Wait. Marvel Crisis Protocol. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the miniature game. Your Marvel, hang on. Yeah, that is what we're talking about. Okay, I'm right. Never mind. Yeah, so he plays it. He loves it. He's willing to teach it. And he'll play a game all night long on Tuesdays. He'll be playing it, and I play like 5 board games. So I'm sure it's fantastic. I'm sure it's good. I'm glad. But at the end of the day, it's a miniatures game, and I'd rather play board games. With your love for Final Fantasy, is there a reason why you haven't played Final Fantasy, the card game, yet? Yes, because I assume it's terrible. I just played Chocobo Party Up with my kids over the weekend. Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't get why there's this push for video games to turn into board games. Man, if you made me make a top 10 list of video games franchises into board games, that would be a hard top 10 list. I don't even think I could come up with 10 ones that I think are good. Maybe I could, but and even then there would be some sideways things in there. like Mario themed on a different game or something. I had no interest in. I mean, I looked at the cards and everything. I got a couple packs. I have it. I think I have a few decks of it somewhere. Oh, I know what happened. No. I got a few decks, but I think they're in the missing box from Essen. Maybe. Ever been to Houston? I have not. How do you feel about people who insist on having background music on while playing? I guess it's fine as long as it's not too loud. I like having background music on. For card games, do you prefer the TCG or LCG format? I love being able to collect everything easily in LCG, but nothing quite compares to opening a random booster. I agree about that random booster. I guess LCG. I guess. But see, then there's the problem with LCG. Like, if I want that card, so I've got to buy the whole pack for it. Probably LCG, but you're right. There's something about opening a booster. I did not know that. So someone just said that Terry Goodkind passed. He wrote the Sword of Truth books, apparently. As well as a contemporary suspense novel, The Law of Nines. I read some of the Sword of Truth. I like the concept of the Sword of Truth a lot. There are certain chapters in some of the Sword of Truth books which I did not enjoy at all. What am I currently reading? What am I reading? I'm reading that superhero series right now. I'm thinking about going back and reading. I'm thinking about going back and reading The Way of Kings because book 4 is coming out very soon. Thank you, Brandon Sanderson, for finishing your books at a reasonable time. So it's exciting because it's a 10-book series, but he said that the first 5 are kind of together and the second 5 are together. So it feels like book 5 will be an ending of sorts, and then it will jump to the other 5. So that's cool by me. That means, in a sense, book 5 will be hopefully a satisfying conclusion. Each of his books ends with a pretty satisfying conclusion anyway. If you read through The Way of Kings, each one has a pretty solid conclusion, and then they're like, but the bad guy's still out there. Ooh. Then you read through the second one. I have never read a book with as exciting of an ending as The Way of Kings, especially the book 3. I mean, if book 4 can top book 3. I mean, I thought the ending of book 1 was great. It was a fantastic ending. It was like, oh my goodness, what a good ending. Some of the parts of that book that had built up to that, I mean, there were parts of book 1 where I was like, oh. I mean, this doesn't spoil it much, but one of the main characters is in a really terrible place at the beginning of the book. And he's in that terrible place for a pretty good chunk of the book. And you're just like, oh. But it pays off at the end in such a fantastic way. And then in book 2, the ending is like cinematically cool. And you're like, wow. And then book 3. And if you ever watched Avengers Endgame, I'm sorry, I don't care. Thanos does not demand my silence anymore. There are a couple moments in Avengers Endgame that just have you stand up and be like, yes. Okay? For example, in Avengers Infinity War, when Thor comes back to Earth, and in Avengers Endgame, when Captain America does his thing, or when the dead people return. I'm not sorry I'm spoiling this, folks. If you haven't watched by now, whatever. Those are like amazing moments. And in The Way of Kings, at the end of the book 3, there's like 8 of those moments. They're amazing. I know that I tend to gush about Brandon Sanderson, but I'm telling you folks, I read book after book, and people send me recommendations. I read book, and nobody touches it. Nobody touches it. But Terry Goodkind did write a lot of fantasy, and so obviously was aspiring for many people. Do you have a food bucket list? I don't know. Maybe there's some foods I might want to try. Some restaurants I like to go to. I don't necessarily have a food bucket list, though. I just like when I go somewhere new, I'm like, ooh, what's there to try? Sorry, there's a lot of things here. What's the deal about North America and Canada? I feel there are some jokes going back and forth, like how we have it with Sweden. Well, North America is kind of funny if you think about it, because it's not like there's 30 countries in North America. There's 3 main countries, which is the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. And the United States and Mexico have had a tumultuous relationship, good and bad, over the past 200 years, including wars and things. There's never really been an actual war between America and Canada, despite what John Candy might want to try. There's just been a lot of joking back and forth, from money to this and that. Both countries have had a pretty friendly relationship for a long, long time. So just mostly good-natured joking, as far as I can tell. Baseball is the second most boring sport to watch. If the batting average is only 30%, then 70% of the game is them missing the pitch. But that's only if you're looking at it from that way. I mean, if the pitcher throws it and the batter misses the pitch, then the pitcher has succeeded. And they're succeeding 70% of the time. But the batting average being only 30% does not mean they're missing it. Okay, because batting average does not include walks. Batting average doesn't include them hitting the ball and someone catching it. The pitcher isn't striking everybody out. That happens occasionally. But for the most part, they hit the ball and someone catches it. Or they hit it and it bounces. Someone grabs it and throws them out at first. That happens just as much. And so if you want to know what that percentage is, you can look at on-base percentage, which adds in your walks and things like that. And then hitting the ball changes that even more. So that's kind of putting it down a little bit lightly. If someone did get a hit more than 30%, the game itself would be kind of boring, because the defense would be pretty terrible. I mean, let's compare this to soccer. What's the percentage of goals on kicks in soccer? I mean, come on. This is a very biased opinion. Were you watching live when Joe Carter hit the World Series winning home run? I was not watching live. We were listening live. It was bedtime, but my parents allowed us to listen to the radio, so we were listening to the radio in bed. And I remember jumping up and being excited. My brother being annoyed. He wasn't even a Phillies fan, but he just wanted the Blue Jays to lose. And we both, wild thing. That was such a moment. That's one of the moments in life I remember very clearly. Like if you ask me about my childhood, like most of it blurs together. But I remember hearing that. I remember the co-host of the radio mocking Joe Carter for letting a pitch go by, and then he hit the next one. After watching your Tom Thinks, I'm curious what game you think is perfect without any expansion set and that you'll never play an expansion for. Well, I'm not going to say that I'll never play an expansion for a game, because that's pretty presumptuous on my part. I don't know. But let me see here. I'm going to quick go through a list of games, see if there's games without expansions. Expansion. Looking for a game I like a lot that doesn't have an expansion. Expansion. Oh, my word. Do I like any game that doesn't have an expansion? Okay, Awkward Guest does not have an expansion, but I would play one. Wow. Raccoon Tycoon does not currently have an expansion, but I would play one. Pulsar 2849 does not have an expansion. I would play one, but it does not need it. Wow. I didn't realize how many of my favorite games have expansions for them. Hang on, I'm moving. That one just had an expansion announced. That's Rajas of the Ganges. Expansion, expansion, expansion. Domain doesn't have an expansion. I don't think Domain needs one. But I gotta be honest, if they announce one, I certainly would pay attention. But Domain doesn't have an expansion. Airlines Europe doesn't have an expansion. That doesn't need one. I can't see why they would announce one for it, but that's one I like that doesn't have an expansion. Expansion, expansion, expansion. They don't have expansion, but I want one for that game. Same with that one. Reef doesn't have an expansion. Oh, it has that mini expansion. Okay. Lockup doesn't have an expansion, but I would like it to have one. Mechs vs. Minions doesn't have an expansion, but I would love one. Expansion, expansion, expansion. Huh. Well, so much for me with expansions. What's the best game about the American election? Probably 1960, off the top of my head. That's a specific American election, but it does a good job with it. Would you ever consider guest segments with members of the Dice Tower community? Exposure for game lovers who have filming equipment. That is essentially what Board Game Breakfast is. If people want to be part of Board Game Breakfast, they usually email me. Every villain is the hero in their story. Possibly, but I can still call villains villains. With which games do you decide to review the games 3 or 4 ways? Whatever we decide. There's no real rhyme or reason, but it's usually going to be a bigger game than not. You often reference the piles of games around you or near you. Any chance of you showing the piles at some point? Maybe, but they're always going in and out. And I'm always hesitant to do that because if I showed you over there, for example, the shelves of games to be reviewed soon, then someone would, then in like 3 months, they're like, wait a minute, that game's been on your shelf for 3 months, you still haven't reviewed it. I'm like, yeah, I haven't got to it yet. So in the room, so I have a small pile of games right here, very small. These are the games that we were going to play Saturday, but just didn't get played. So they're going to go back to the to be played. Over there, in that corner, I got a pile of games that are going to be reviewed at some point, or maybe they have been reviewed, but essentially they're lidless games because the lids are behind me. And then over here, I have the games to be reviewed. Some of them are going to happen this week. That's happening this week. That's happening this week. Some of them are going to happen next week. Yep. That's how it works. That was so useless. A future top 10, rondelles or time tracks. Well, that's interesting. If you're a fan of house-made sausage, if you come to Edmonton up in Canada, I got you covered at my restaurant. Be a treat to cook for a guy who changed my work. Well, I don't have any plans to go to Edmonton, but now I want to go. I've never been to a restaurant where I knew like the person who owned it or cooked at it. That would be neat. Best thing about getting together with Richard Hammond Corner, it's just fun. I like talking with him. I believe I'm one of the few people who can hold my ground a little bit with his torrential talking. Right, he talks a lot, and I got to stay up there with him. I feel like I'm the introvert on his show. But yeah, it's fun. We have very different opinions, but we also agree on many things. So I think that makes for a good show. That's tomorrow, 2 o'clock, by the way. Do you have a weird food combination that you like but most people would cringe at? I don't know that most people. I do find that most people, and this is becoming more prevalent, but like, I don't know, when I first went to college, everyone I talked to about putting vinegar on fries was really opposed to that I met. People were like, you don't use ketchup, you use vinegar? I was like, yeah, vinegar is great. But now, time has gone by, more and more people put vinegar on their fries. A weird combination that I like, a snack that I like to eat that probably no one else makes. I take saltine crackers, I melt cheese on top of them, cheese and ham on top of them, and then I'll put some hoagie spread on top of that. I really like that, but I think most people probably don't do that. I like kimchi jjigae ramen, and I put corn in it, and I think no one else does that because the Koreans don't put corn in it, and most people don't eat it. So that's probably extremely unique to me. Alrighty, oh, time is up here, folks. Well, I appreciate it. I'm sorry if I've missed some of your questions, but I appreciate everybody. I'll be back in a week to answer some more questions. So tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, we're going to be playing Gods Love Dinosaurs from Pandasaurus Live. At 2 o'clock tomorrow, I will be with Rado doing Corner to Corner. Wednesday, Crowd Surfing, where we take a look at Kickstarters ending in the next week or so. Thursday, of course, Board Game Breakfast. Thursday, and then Friday, we're going to be doing a live play of Cloud City. So I hope you all enjoy that. Thank you all for watching the live show. And until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Q&A on the Dice Tower. Well, that's that. I'm going to change it. I must be getting old. Well, what do you do? I'm confused. Very confused. Whatever. Oh. Thank you for the warning about Bob. That guy's a jerk.